and bromine, and both of which are pervasive in our environment. So if you are drinking tap water, please make extra sure you're getting enough iodine through supplementation or through food. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Got so much more to talk about with halogen displacement. And then I want to tell you about a mineral that gets very little press when it comes to helping us with build our bones and helping with osteoporosis. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We're coming back after this. We will continue talking about osteoporosis and degenerative diseases as it relates to the thyroid. Tomorrow, we'll continue talking about this whole fluoride link to hypothyroidism. And then I'm going to tell you about a mineral that gets very little publicity, unfortunately. And this is a mineral that more and more we're learning about is becoming a nutritional deficiency health crisis in this country because of how we farm. And this is a mineral that is very, very, very important when it comes to building strong bones. And we don't ever talk about it in terms of building strong bones. In fact, we very rarely talk about this important mineral at all. We'll discuss that tomorrow as we continue talking about nutrition, the thyroid, the triangle of disease, degenerative disease, and especially about osteoporosis. Okay, 855-660-4261. Time to hit our phone. Steve in Texas. What is going on? I think we talked to you Friday, didn't we, Steve?
Yeah, we did talk Friday about varicose veins.
That's right. Okay. You have anything more, or you want to continue talking about that?
I still don't really get anything figured out. I wanted to just say that I use a Vitamix blender every day, usually 2 meals a day
Steve, you're making a very common mistake when you do that. And this is real. A lot of folks, and this is what I mean by that. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's irrelevant what you're doing. It matters what you're not doing, what you're missing. It's great that you're doing a Vitamix. I highly recommend you do that, and juicing is great. I don't remember the details of what we talked about on Friday, but I think you're doing a lot of good stuff, and that's awesome, and you should continue to do that good stuff. But the fact that you have varicose veins means you're missing something. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, it matters what you're not doing. That's the point I want to make, and I want to make that to all our listeners, because I hear this all the time. People give me a whole list of all the supplements they're taking, or all the good nutritional moves they're making, or dietary moves they're making, but they still have some kind of problem, which means we're missing something. So here's the deal with varicose veins. Just think of the circulatory system, as the name implies, as a big circle. It goes from your heart, and then it goes to all your organs, and then it returns back upwards to the heart, and then it goes back through the heart and all your organs, like a big circle in your body, the circulatory system. Varicose veins are a sign that the return trip is being blocked. The return trip upwards from the liver up to the heart is somehow being blocked, and this usually involves a sluggish liver. Okay, does that make sense so far? Does the mechanism make sense? Do you understand how that works? You have a big circle, and okay, good. And hang tight, because I'm gonna finish this up here for you in a little bit. I want everybody to get the picture here. The circulatory system is just a big, like the letter O. There's a heart at the top. The arterial blood goes from the heart to all the organs, and then it returns upwards through the liver, which is kind of the linchpin, kind of the turning point as the blood goes up. Now, if the liver is sluggish, the blood will begin to pool downwards and settle based on the effects of gravity. Gravity will start to pull things down. As things will pull down, as the blood gets pulled down via gravity and the difficulties of getting through the liver, this is where you start to get into problems like edema and varicose veins and hemorrhoids, which are another type of varicose vein. So the first thing we need to think about, Steve, is something that's percolating in the liver. Now, the liver is obviously a very, very key organ that does all kinds of things. It processes poisons, it processes sugars and fats, and processes proteins. It's pretty much the most multifunctional organ in your body, and it's the biggest and largest organ in your body next to the skin, which is on the outside of the body, and it's extremely, extremely functional and important. So it makes sense that if anything is going wrong in the body, one of the first places it's going to show up is the liver. Now, the fact that you're doing all these supplements, and I think you said you were working out and you're taking good care of yourself, that's all great. But what it means is that something is just beginning to start to show up in the liver, causing a little bit of sluggishness. It could be some kind of fatty deposits. It could be something that's not being metabolized correctly. So whenever you have an issue with the liver, the first thing you want to think about, as always, with everything, with all degenerative diseases, is foods. And it's the easiest place to work. Now, if we really want to get a good picture of what's happening in your body, Steve, we need to triangulate. And by triangulate, I mean we need to have multiple points. So varicose veins are 1 point. We need 2 more points. Is there anything else you can come up with that'll allow us to form a picture, a 3-dimensional picture of what's going on in your body, so we can triangulate and get 3 points and kind of figure out what's happening, get an image of what's happening inside the body? Anything else that you can think of?
Well, I come in contact with a lot of chlorine. I don't know if that
No, I mean symptoms. No, Steve,
okay.
Listen, symptoms.
Sure. No, not.
Okay, well, that's your homework, buddy. That's your homework, because I can tell you the logic of a varicose vein is that something is clogging up the liver and keeping the blood from making its full circle in a smooth and easy fashion. I can tell you that, but until I have a couple other points, I can't see exactly what's happening inside the body. So your homework is you don't have just varicose veins. Nobody just has varicose veins. There's no way that all of the valves in the vein can become defective at the same time unless there's something else going on in your system. So it's just that you're missing a couple of things. So spend a couple of 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, try to put together a couple symptoms, and you can either call us back or you can shoot me an email. I think did you send me an email, Steve?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, did you put your phone number on there?
I did.
All right, so you have 2 options here. I can deal with you personally on the phone, which I'm glad to do, or you can help all our listeners if you can come up with 2 symptoms, at least 2. If you can come up with more, that's even better. There's 2 other things that are going on in your body, and so we can form a picture of what's happening, a 3-dimensional picture of what's happening, rather than just trying to treat the varicose veins out of context. Now, if you can't think of anything else, then what you really want to focus on is the liver, because it means blood is not getting through the liver to make it on the return trip, and it's pooling back downwards. That's the mechanism of varicose veins. That is the only mechanism of varicose veins, really, is that blood is not making its round trip, its return trip back to the heart effectively, and it's starting to pool downwards. So if you can come up with a couple other symptoms, that would be great, and that would help us form a picture. If not, then I would highly recommend you figure out what the heck is getting into your liver, and usually that means something through the digestive system, or it could be a medicine. Are you on any medications or anything?
No, 0.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, it sounds like you're a healthy guy, and so this is all great news. The supplements you're doing and the Vitamix and how you're taking care of yourself, that's all great news. So if we just figure out what is getting into the system that's clogging up the liver and keeping the blood from making that return flow, then we should be able to take care of you pretty easily. All right, so spend a couple of days, give it 24, 48 hours. You can either write me back. I'd prefer if you call so we could help some other folks, but either way, we'll put together a picture and we'll see what's going on. Other than that, you're dealing with a liver issue, and that's what you want to focus on. Thanks so much for calling. Appreciate it, Steve, and hope we can help you out. All right, Pam in Michigan, what is up? How you doing this morning? And welcome to the Bright Side.
Hello.
Hello, Pam. What's cooking?
Okay, well, I can totally relate to everything you're talking about today. Great show. Thank you.
Thank you.
I spoke to you before, and I was seeing myself as though I had yeast, and I went to the gynecologist, and he said it could be lichen sclerosis.
Lichen sclerosis. Okay. On the genitals?
Yes.
Okay, hang tight. I'll tell you about lichen sclerosis when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back after this. All right, we're back on The Bright Side. Pam is it Michigan, Pam?
Yes.
Hi, Pam. So lichen sclerosis, first of all, most sufferers of lichen sclerosis are women, so that usually tells us that there's some kind of estrogen component. The latest literature on lichen sclerosis indicates that it's of autoimmune etiology or cause. So I'm going to ask you what I asked Steve. What else is going on? Any other symptoms that you can come up with so we can put together a picture of what's happening in your body? Chances are you don't just have lichen sclerosis.
Okay, right. Well, I've been on Wellbutrin for 20 years.
Okay.
Omeprazole for 15 years. Thyroid for about 15.
Oh, geez. Okay, so we don't even. We got the opposite of Steve. Steve couldn't come up with anything. You got all kinds of stuff going on, but that's good. We got
varicose veins.
Okay, the whole bit. All right. So the least of your problems is a little depigmentation, which is what lichen sclerosis is for the listeners. It's little white patches that form on the genitals, and as I say, 10 times as many sufferers of lichen sclerosis are women as men. So whenever that happens, and there's at least a few diseases I know of which mostly affect women, I always think of the hormone estrogen. Estrogen is a female hormone predominantly, and it is also a stress hormone. So it sounds like you got some serious stressors going on in the system. Also, some of the latest literature on lichen sclerosus indicates that it may be an autoimmune disease, which is when the body attacks itself. In this case, the body is attacking the cells that make pigment, and thus you have the white spots. So a couple of things that I would be doing, as always, you want to focus first and foremost on foods. And if you're on the omeprazole, chances are that you know that you've got some kind of digestive health issues. Something is triggering heartburn, and something is triggering excess acid secretion, etc. So do you know you have problem foods, food allergies, food intolerances, digestive health issues, bowel movement problems, etc., gas, bloating, that kind of stuff?
Okay, well, in February, I stopped taking my Prilosec and my thyroid medication, and I've gone gluten-free. I mean, we are totally good.
Not yet. Are you getting better?
I am getting better, but
okay.
I had this, under my armpits and, vaginal area for...
How old are you? How old?
52.
Okay, no, you're on the right track, but it sounds like you're working correctly. Now, here's the thing I would caution you about gluten allergy, about laying off gluten. And it's really one of my pet peeves with nutritionists and alternative practitioners who I consider to be my friends. But when I hear this, when people talk about gluten as if it is some magic substance and you just eliminate gluten out of your diet and then you continue eating it, whatever you want to eat, and you're going to be fine, it just makes me really angry because, you see, it's much more than gluten. Gluten is just one of a zillion, with a Z, different compounds that you can react to in food. And so when people tell you to go gluten-free or to eliminate gluten, they're either being very simplistic because they're treating you like an infant, or they don't know any better themselves. See, laying off gluten is great, but you could be allergic to all kinds of other things, and you're still doing them. They got gluten-free beer and gluten-free pizza and gluten-free cakes and gluten-free candies, and people say, well, I'm just going to eat this gluten-free pizza, and I should be fine, not knowing or not realizing that there's 10 different other compounds in wheat and pizza crust that you can be reacting to. So it's all well and good that you're going gluten-free, my dear, but you still got something going on. So this is what you need to do, okay? You want to focus on your digestive symptoms. And I guarantee you, I'm not Psychic Ben here, but I guarantee you got to know that you got some bowel movement issues, either diarrhea or constipation. I'm guessing it's probably constipation. Does that sound familiar at all, ma'am?
It's diarrhea, but
okay.
I have been on the Healthy Digestion Pack. I'm packing...
Okay, well, hang on. I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to work with you here, ma'am, so don't worry about it. Here's the deal with diarrhea, okay? Diarrhea means the body is trying to expel something it doesn't like. Or diarrhea can mean that you're not absorbing minerals, one or the other, or both. So when you have chronic diarrhea or long-term diarrhea or even occasional diarrhea, you got to look to what you ate that your body feels as a poison and is telling you to get rid of. Does that make sense?
The only thing I really eat is cucumber.
Well, you don't have to do it right now with me. If you like, I'll work with you. You send me an email with your phone number, and I'll work with you, but I want to point you in the right direction, okay? You understand what I'm saying? You want to focus on something that the body is attempting to eliminate. Now, it could be something in spinach, it could be something in lettuce, it could be something in bagels, it could be something in cereal, it could be something in anything, really. But the point is after you have a loose stool, write down in your little, get yourself a little notebook and write down what you ate a couple of hours before you had the loose stool, even 3, 4, 5 hours before you had the loose stool. And keep doing it. It may take you 3 or 4 or 5 loose stools to figure out, oh my gosh, every time I have corn, I have diarrhea. Every time I have oatmeal, I have diarrhea. Every time I have oranges, I have diarrhea. So you're going to have to make that link for yourself, but I'm pointing you in the right direction. The second thing is, if you are on the Healthy Start Pack, and that includes the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, did you say the Healthy Digestion or Healthy Start?
I'm on the blood sugar, the digestion, and selenium.
Okay, you're taking the BTT, though, or the Ultimate Classic, one of the mineral drinks?
BTT.
Okay, so it may be that you're not absorbing minerals, and as we've said before, if you don't absorb minerals, they'll pass through your intestine and they'll cause a little bit of diarrhea. Either way, your diarrhea, your loose stool, is your best friend in the world. It's better for you than any doctor. It's better for you than any pharmacist on the radio. It's better for you than anybody because it is your own personal health guide. It's your own personal health guru. Your diarrhea is your health guru because your diarrhea will tell you when you're on the right track or when you're on the wrong track. Does that make sense? You follow that logic?
I do.
Your loose stool is your best indicator to what you're eating incorrectly. Every time you have a loose stool, backtrack, what did you eat? And then that's a food that you need to eliminate. If you're not on the absolute finest probiotic you could find, which I consider to be the Nightly Essence from Youngevity, if you're not on an 80 billion units a day, start today. Don't waste any time. Get yourself on an 80 billion unit a day, multiple strain of bacteria probiotic program, and then use fermented foods all day long. That is miso, tempeh, kimchi, natto soup, any tofu, anything that's fermented. Actually, I don't think tofu's fermented. Scratch that. Anything that's fermented. Cabbage soup is wonderful for soothing the digestive tract. Cabbage juices can be helpful. If you don't have a Vitamix, get yourself a Vitamix and make yourself veggie soups. Keeping in mind, however, you can have a loose stool, you can have digestive problems in response to vegetation and plants just as much as you can to milk and to grains and to more classic associated digestive triggers. So vegetables can be a problem, fruits can be a problem. You just have to see what's problematic for you. All right, so focus on the digestive system, number one. If you want to do something for your immune system directly, use vitamin C, but caution with too much vitamin C because too much vitamin C can cause loose stool. So if you're going to use vitamin C, try and do it in divided doses. Vitamin E, 400 international units a day. If you're not on vitamin E, very, very important for the immune system, as is zinc, 50 milligrams a day, zinc picolinate, and magnesium, 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day. The Osteomag from Youngevity, by the way, is a real neat form of magnesium. It's magnesium glycinate, which is one of the better forms of magnesium. Last but most certainly not least, for all immune problems and digestive problems, I would be using the Z-Radical 2 or 3 capfuls a day. Now, you stay on the selenium. That's also very important for the immune system. And there's tons more you could do, but that'll give you a good start. Most importantly, however, focus on what is getting into your body that's triggering this stress response. That's what you got going on, my dear. You have a stress response, and it could easily be secondary to the pharmacology that you were taking, the pharmaceutical drugs that you were taking. So something is triggering a stress response, and it's activating the immune system, and that's where your lichen sclerosus is coming from, as well as probably all of the other symptoms that you're dealing with. And you're welcome to shoot me an email, and if you put your phone number on there, give me a few days and I'll get back to you and I'll work with you personally. Okay, Pam?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless. Good luck with everything. All right, Dee in Virginia, got about a minute. If we can't finish up, you can call back tomorrow. What's up, Dee?
Hey, just want to know what to do to reverse vitiligo. I have it very moderately on my hands. Well, more extreme on my hands, but moderately. Autoimmune disease. Exactly the same thing as we were talking about with Pam from Michigan. Vitiligo is when the body attacks and kills its own pigment-making cells, leaving you with white patches of no pigment. Now, you have to know, my dear, that you have other symptoms going on in your body, especially digestive symptoms. Correct, Amundo? Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, that's where, I'm not saying that to beat up on you, Dee. I'm just trying to get to the source of this thing. Autoimmunity, and I explained, I'll probably go over it again tomorrow. We explained it for the last couple of days. When little pieces of food are not digested properly, they leak into the blood and they initiate an immune response. Because particles of food look like the body. When the immune system attacks these particles of food, which are perceived as the enemy, sometimes there's cross-reactivity with the tissues of the body or the cells of the body. Vitiligo is when the body attacks melanocytes, which is pigment-making cells. And when these pigment-making cells get attacked and get killed, they can't make pigment anymore. You end up with white spots. So first and foremost, and I hate to beat a dead horse here, but you got to focus on the digestive system with all autoimmunity. We'll talk some more about this tomorrow. So if you didn't quite catch everything I was saying, we'll do it first thing on the program tomorrow. And also, Dee, you're welcome to call back, and I'll get you first in line, and I'll tell you a couple things that you could do directly for dealing with vitiligo. All right, and by the way, gluten intolerance and vitiligo, and grain intolerance and vitiligo go hand in hand. All right, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thank you so much, folks, for listening. We will talk to you all later, folks. Bye for now.